I have a really special guest here today, a coaching client that I enjoy working with and have had the pleasure to work with for many, many years, Ernie Carswell. Ernie Carswell, his bio is so extensive that I thought, to get it right, I better actually write it down. So I want to read to you just a little bit about Ernie's background. Ernie is one of the most accomplished and respected real estate agents in the industry today, with more than 25 years experience in business. His extensive roster of satisfied clientele includes the likes of Fortune 500 CEOs, professional entertainers, top studio executives, leading attorneys, government officials, ambassadors, and foreign dignitaries. Carswell is one of the most admired names in the luxury real estate space and frequently receives accolades for his outstanding work in the press. He's been included in the Hollywood Reporter's Hollywood Top 25 Real Estate Agents, and also Variety featured him on Showbiz Real Estate Elite, Billboard's coverage of the top 15 real estate agents representing musicians today, and he was even ranked top 100 agents in the nation by Wall Street Journal's Real Trends. A native of Southern Carolina, Carswell's real estate career began in the exclusive Highland Park neighborhood of Dallas, Texas. He relocated to New York as an agent, selling properties on Manhattan's Upper East Side for 3 years, and he finally planted his flag in Southern California in the early 90s, where he currently resides today. So after all that great bio, Ernie, as I'm reading this as well as I know you, I'm thinking, could you have picked a tougher clientele or any more challenging and competitive markets to work in? That's a lot.
We aimed for glory, so I don't know if we've hit that glory spot yet, but the cities that I've been fortunate to work in, such as Dallas, Texas, New York City, and now Los Angeles, I feel humbled by the challenge that each city presented to me, but boy, did I love each and every one of them. They're all great locations and good people in every town.
Well, speaking of locations, because you know, of course, for all of our viewers who may want to get in touch with you or even have referrals for you in the Beverly Hills market, you have such a beautiful office. It's the epitome of location, location, location. So tell them a little bit about where you're physically located, and then also how to get in touch with you if they'd like to reach out.
Well, thank you for that. The brokerage I work at is Douglas Elliman of California, which is based in Beverly Hills. Douglas Elliman began in New York City, and when I was in Manhattan, I was a Douglas Elliman agent in the 80s there. But they're now in California, so they're my home brokerage. We are Ernie Carswell and Associates. You can find us by Googling that. My phone number is a direct line, 310-345-7500. We tried to make that easy, 345-7500 in the 310 area code. And we're right there at Rodeo Drive and Wilshire Boulevard. So if you're at the crossroads of Beverly Hills, you'll probably fall right on top of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think you'll enjoy going to Ernie's website because they really do a phenomenal job, and you'll see some of the work that he's done. And now, Ernie, I know that you often have confidentiality agreements where you can't speak of who you're working with unless it's already been out in the press and the public. I think it's pretty well known that Katy Perry is a great client. I know you and I have talked through multiple transactions that you've worked on for Katy and I think Fergie, right? And Ernie sold the Brady Bunch house. I think everyone knows about the Brady Bunch house.
That certainly made news that surprised even us.
It did. And I don't know if you have anything you want to share about that, because there was a lot of drama around that sale. So
there was. The network ended up winning the multiple round. But my clients the family had owned the home for 40 years plus since the show was actually taped originally. Called me after the matriarch of the family passed away. And so I met with them, and as I drove up in front of the house, I thought, this looks familiar for some reason, but nothing was connecting. And we got inside the home, and I happened to ask them why the house looked familiar, and they said, oh, they shot the Brady Bunch here back in the 60s. I was like, oh, that's pretty big.
Yes.
That's going to get some press. They didn't believe it. They thought, oh, no one cares
my
about
goodness.
that anymore.
You never shared that with me.
Yeah.
I would have thought they would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's the most photographed house in
After
America.
the White House. The White House is the number one photographed residence in the United States, and after that was the Brady Bunch house.
Now, tell them, if you will, what it was listed for and then what it ultimately sold for.
We listed under $2 million and we sold in the mid threes. We definitely doubled up, but we were listed like right at the 1.9 place. And immediately offers were tumbling up into the twos and hit the threes. But HBO and the Discovery Channel decided they would not be outbid. And Lance Bass, a well-known public figure, had a passion for the home and got involved. And so there was some press about that scenario, but ultimately it did go to the Discovery Channel. And now there's a show about it on TV.
I would imagine your sellers are pretty happy.
They were surprised and then they were thrilled.
Thrilled.
So it was a good story. And in real estate, we love it when the story has a happy ending. And that's what we all aim for.
You know, I was at a conference on Monday with a group of top agents, and many were luxury agents. And of course, the whole topic in real estate right now is the disruptors and the flat rate, cut rate commission companies. And then you hear a story like this, and it just reminds you that the reason you hire an expert is not just to get your home to market, which you guys do a masterful job of that, but to negotiate that, because I remember those negotiations along with some of the others that we've discussed that are confidential, how challenging they are. And I mean, ultimately, what did you net them? 1.5 or 2 million more?
Oh, yes, it was about 2 million more. And they were just gobsmacked by that and thrilled. They were not publicity seekers, and I think that's why they were so surprised, because this became international news overnight.
Right.
But that's the reason for professional in our industry, and we must continually groom those in our leagues to be prepared for greatness at any moment. You never know when that's going to happen to you in your career, and you must be prepared and be ready for that. And unfortunately, with the automation of many things taking place in the technology sector, where we can order our groceries on the computer, or our car can show up on an app. And so people are wanting that to become the real estate reality. And I am fighting that because we cannot be replaced by technology.
Right.
We are people. We have the capacity to care. As far as I know, computers and robots do not have that capacity yet. And the caring, nurturing, supportive service that we can offer to our clients is something that's irreplaceable. There is no app for that.
So, speaking of market expert, that's a lot of changing of markets. Now, obviously, you've been in the Beverly Hills market for 25 years plus now. But agents will often ask me, if I want to break into the luxury market or I want to move markets completely, where do I begin? So when you landed in Beverly Hills and said, this is going to be my territory, where'd you start?
I started at the bottom. And it's a humbling place to start, but it's pretty much the natural place to start. I've seen agents that grew up in Beverly Hills and graduated from Beverly Hills High School expect that they're just going to adapt right into the industry, and it doesn't go so well for them. It can, but you've got to be prepared for that and to understand there's going to be a big learning curve, because the market is a bear and there's a lot to learn. And just growing up in your hometown is not enough knowledge. Learning strategies and learning how the national economy may contrast or conflict and maybe support your local economy. Because look, California is not always dealing with the same dynamic that New York City is.
Right.
In fact, our coasts are quite opposite in many ways, financially and geographically. So understanding all of that takes a long time to learn. So I started at the bottom, but I always kept my eye on successful agents and made it a point that they knew me and I knew them. And I think that's the best advice I would give to an agent starting out that wants to seek the luxury sector, whether it's in Abilene, Texas, or Omaha, Nebraska, or Beverly Hills. There's a luxury markets in every town,
There absolutely
okay, no
is.
matter how small or large. And there's usually a few agents that are already circulating in it. Seek them out, befriend them, offer your support as a colleague, and try to learn from them, watch the way they navigate the market, and adapt.
So I hope I won't forget. I've got two things going on in my mind. One of them, though, is the market expertise. I think I recall that Ernie shared with me that when he first came to town, so to speak, obviously if it's a luxury mansion, there's not a lockbox. You're not going to pop in and preview. But there are the broker tours that are arranged, as many of you have in your market. And Ernie, I think I remember you telling me that you would go to those tours, and I know you always carry your leather journal, and that you would politely grill the listing agent. Tell me about the home, tell me about the architecture, tell me about the community, what would be the best features to point out. You basically sucked out of them all of their years of knowledge about those properties, and then you could go out and talk about that. And it actually made you seem an expert before you were.
Your recollection is correct. I was actually given that guidance by my first manager in California when I moved here from New York, and Los Angeles is such a large city to learn. And she told me, she said, Ernie, find 10 homes that are in the high value sector that you like. Homes that you like their architecture or where they're located, something special about 10 homes. Become the expert on those homes. Speak to those agents, find out what the story is, and then you'll have 10 homes. It's the only 10 homes you need to know in LA. Know those 10 homes. And I did. And another thing I had to do was I had to learn how to get to these homes. And it's before there were Navi guides on our phone and in our automobiles, and there were maps. And so I would get up before sunrise, and I would drive around Los Angeles and Beverly Hills in the wee hours of the morning so that I knew how to get to homes in case the client was in my car with me.
Right.
You never want to look lost.
Right.
And I think that would be a very poor representation that the agent can't find the home, right? So I took whatever measures were necessary that I could present myself as the expert, and that I knew the directions and I knew something about the homes that I was going to be speaking to them about. And you present yourself as an expert, and then you become one.
So do you have a crazy story that you could legally share?
Oh, legally I couldn't. I signed all of those non-disclosure agreements in Hollywood, and I can never talk about anyone that I truly worked for, but the press usually finds out, and so that's the only way I can even be involved in that conversation, when the press finds out, and they do. TMZ calls me now at home. They've got me on like their hotline, but I just can never reveal.
I seem to remember a story you might, we won't name names, but you fell into some swimming pool of a very luxurious home, and
it's funny you say that. That's exactly what I was thinking about, Debbie, and it's pretty innocuous. No one's going to be too embarrassed but me. But I'm known I'm always present on my photo shoots of my properties. I have an eye that I want to get certain shots and get the allure for each property's uniqueness through the camera lens. Even though I'm not a photographer, I know what I expect to see and want. And my photographer is fantastic, and he captures it. But they always are warning me that I'm running around too fast around, the swimming pools or the koi ponds and all that. And I've always just been, don't worry about me, I'm fine. And sure enough, finally it happened.
fell in.
Completely dressed like this, right in the pool, soaked from toe to head. Pretty embarrassing. So.
Well, when you were talking about the photos, that made me think of another question. Some homes are extensively videoed, inside, outside, and I think you have an opinion about that.
I do. Less is more. I forget the name, Gypsy Rose Lee. Wasn't that the inspiration for
the stripper that didn't strip at all?
And she actually didn't take it all off.
Right.
And became the most famous stripper. Isn't that just the best example right there? So that's really the way I like to advertise my properties. Bring in and draw in the allure of them, but less is more. You want the phone to ring, or you want the email to show up, or the text, or the inquiry. If you put it all out there, then there's no reason for the client or the potential client to call. And so I always hold back in the spirit of Gypsy Rosalie.
I haven't heard that analogy, and some of the millennials are going,
Who is that?
Yeah,
Google Gypsy Rosalie.
Yeah, so I want to see if I've missed anything. I know. I think it was even last week. I was talking to someone who knows who you are, and they knew that we were working together, and they said to me, "Ernie's amazing. He's an icon in real estate. Why would he need a coach?" And I said, "Well, certainly not to teach him how to sell homes." So they were baffled by that.
Well, look, I'm just going to tell you straight. I go to the gym, and many people watching probably have yoga or go cardio or run by the beach or bicycling and all of those things. We do that for our bodies because we want to be healthy, we want to be flexible, and we want to trim down, whatever we do, but we're doing that for our health. I have you as my coach for my business health. Mm-hmm. I want that just as much. And the exercise that you and I go through when we talk in the counseling sessions, when you're coaching me, it's vital to me. I mean, I use you as a sounding board and you give me solid advice from your experience. You keep me encouraged about stay on the mark, keep calling those 5 clients a day, those contacts a day. You just add the word balance back into my professional career. Because without your influence, Debbie, I would be working all the time with, just running ragged and maybe not being more efficient or being actually more successful. I think taking the time to be coached and to listen to your guidance helps me become more successful. And so it's just like going to the gym when you want to be healthier. Coaching in real estate is building a better career. It's what I believe in.
I read something the other day, and I cannot remember where I read it. I've always got stacks of things going on. And it said that the 80-20, 20% of the agents doing 80% of the business is shifting to the 90-10. 10% will be doing 90% of the business. You can really see why in a shifting market. And that 85% of the top 10% have some type of business coach. Because, Ernie, I think we've read, both of us, the book, The EMyth by Michael Gerber, The Entrepreneurial Myth, which is just because you are a fabulous entrepreneur, great salesperson, you can, what's the old saying, sell ice to Eskimos, that doesn't mean you're terrifically strong in building a business or systems of a business. In fact, Michael talks about the pie maker that was phenomenal. Everyone said, open a pie shop, and they opened the shop and they failed. And just what I remember about you when we first met, very difficult situation with an admin, which they can all probably relate to, just ridiculous amount of hours of work. And I remember walking the parking lot behind your building saying, Ernie, we've got to get a better admin and you need a team. And you're like, I don't want a team, no team. Because that's just not what you ever put your mind around. And now you've got this fabulous team.
Yep. There's 18 on the team, and I love it. And we are united in spirit and in brand, and we are recognizable among our colleagues. People recognize our brand out there on the streets, and I think I'm proud of that. And you helped me build that, Debbie.
Totally. Well, yeah, you did all the hard work. So, I often ask agents this, and maybe we'll close with this unless there's some other thoughts you want to share. I often ask, what is your vision? What is your vision for your business in the next 5 years? So what about you? Where do you want to see this go and grow? Because I know you are never resting.
That's right. I still want to grow. I still feel I have a lot to learn. I've seen a lot. I've done a lot. But I have the excitement to do more and to grow with your guidance and help and my own energies. I want to grow wisely, not necessarily spending more hours, but being more efficient and being more thoughtful about the growth. And I'd like to share it. I'd like to see my team agents grow their careers and expand their horizons and be a part of that for them. I'd love that. So I'm still wanting to grow, and and expand and learn, but I'm not about to retire. But I need to vacation more. I
You do.
There are a few continents I still need to see.
Yeah, we'd like to get you out of the country because then I think you relax a bit more.
Yeah, it helps.
Well, they might be wondering, so what's the most expensive listing you've ever taken?
It's funny because there's actually two. One was $120 million of an unbuilt property in Manhattan. So that was one, and it did sell, but it never got built. But the house that was the most expensive was $65 million in Beverly Hills. It was a Saudi prince's home and a bankruptcy. It did sell, and now today, more than a decade later, it's on the market with the new owner at $130 million. So if I had it today, it'd be 130, but when I had it, it was 65.
Wow, crazy, right, guys? Crazy numbers, lots of zeros. Now, Ernie, again, in case they didn't catch it at the beginning, let's go ahead and let them know once again how to get in touch with you. So I'll let you give them your phone number and email if you'd like.
Sure, Ernie Carswell and Associates.com. We're located in Beverly Hills, and our direct line is area code 310-345-7500.
And if you have questions for me or need some help connecting with Ernie, you can email me, debbiedgrote@gmail.com. So we hope you learned a lot. We hope you're inspired. And remember, there's always something new to do.